Welcome to another edition of Resilient Living Podcast, a show dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet, through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. My name is Adrian Babashoff, and today is episode 30, and it is mini retirement kickoff, basically for 2021. I know I've just started this show, and a big part of what inspires me and keeps me going with this show is that I live a life of complete freedom, and I'm loving it. I'm so excited. That's what I'm inspired to share with you guys today, is because today for me is July 1st, and this marks the first day of 2021 that I'm not going to go to work for the next probably 90 days. I call these mini retirements. I didn't know what I was doing. I've been doing this for probably about 6-7 years now, and I didn't know what they were called. Some people, I guess they called them mini retirements. I just called them like time offs and stuff like that. But I'm just giddy. And I wanted to share with you guys some of the things I do different. Was it worth it? All the work? How did I actually do that? We have to wrap that all in 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop blabbering my mouth and get to it. Is it worth it? It's the first thing on my list here. Every year that I do this, if you guys understand, I got to give you guys reference to of kind of who I am, where it comes from, how do I do this. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, so I'm able to, I do not trade my time for dollars. In my opinion, trading your time for dollars is almost like it's slavery. You know, I think you can make good money, and I don't want to talk bad about it, but there's no life of freedom there. You're going to work your entire life, you know, until the day you retire. And some people, I think, need that. There's a good place of security, I think, a sense of security there. I rather would like to say, but I don't trade my time for dollars. I trade my expertise for dollars. So I'm able to make as much money as I want. Through mathematics, through running your life like a business, everything, the premise of this show, the things I try to share with people is if you don't take control, if you don't design your life, you don't have these abilities. If you don't know where you're going, how to get there, a map, and have a time frame and enough gasoline, you know, for a vessel, like a plane that you need to land in another country, you're going from point A to point B, you're going to be completely lost on sonar. So life to me is the same kind of deal, is that is it worth it, all the work and everything that I've been doing? I would say yes. It comes to the point where all these things I just spoke of running my life like a business, what happens is I get a quota, and I work my butt off really, really hard. I know there's a certain amount of money that I need to make. I know that I need to make money for investing. I know I need to make money for retirement. I know I need emergency funds and just plain survival. This year's been a lot easier for me because I worked really, really hard for a few years. What I wanted was a year in advance of money, right? So 2021 was actually the first year where it's completely paid for. And what I mean is gas, electricity, rent, things like that. It's completely done. So once I got that quota, I knew that, hey, I want to take a mini retirement. I'm going to need to make X amount of dollars for that. So was it worth all the hard work? I say yes. There's times, though, that it feels really awful, really bad. I mean, I feel exhausted. I'm exhausted right now mentally. I did not take off last year. I busted my butt trying to get my a garden business going on. I have multiple businesses basically that I'm trying to start. Also, this podcast I do here, this is the Clean Family Podcast. I also do a potty mouth podcast called Up and In It. So I'm running 2 podcasts, 2 YouTube channels, and all those kind of things. And sometimes it wears you out. This is probably the busiest year I've ever had, and going into 2020 as well. And it really wore me out. I'm willing to do that work, though, so that I can make my life even better than what it is now. But it definitely, there's times where I look at it, I'm like, why am I doing this? You know, I'm killing myself the way it feels. But in contrast, for me personally, and maybe for you, I don't like vacations. I refuse to take a vacation for 1 week. I need a vacation that's at least 14 days. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm planning on taking off for a minimum of 2 weeks. We're shooting for more like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And we're just going to go travel at our mini retirements. So is it worth it? Once I get out there and I'm sitting in the middle of nowhere with waterfalls on the ocean, and it's nothing extravagant, I'd like to say too. I'm not a rich person. I'm not the millionaire guy. You guys, what you're hearing in the background, excuse the noise, is a 96 F350 7.3 liter diesel Ford truck. It's old, but it's paid for. And it's a really good piece of machinery. I don't own extravagant things. I live very simple. My home is a tiny house, aka travel trailer. My rent is probably a third of what most people pay. Not probably, it's at least half to a third of what people pay around here in this given area. So is it all worth it? I don't know if it's for everybody. For me, most definitely, because after the first 2-3 weeks, that's the time it takes for me to decompress and actually forget that I have to go to work. And that's going to be one of the problems, actually, I'd like to share with you guys right now, is shutting off the light switch. You get programmed, especially, after just 2 years, year in, year out, you get programmed at waking up at a certain time in the morning. I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this, where you will actually wake up like 5 seconds before your alarm goes off. And you're like a machine. And what's happening to me right now is, yesterday I went to the beach and I just kind of hung out there, tried to take a nap in my truck, watching the waves, and I felt guilty. Like my brain was just like, we got to get busy, we got to do something. So it takes about 2 weeks for that to all calm down. And when you start really living in the moment, that's when you ask yourself, is it worth it? And it's heck yeah, because your batteries get fully charged, not partially charged. I know it's probably each to their own. A lot of people probably have their, maybe they like conformity and consistency and things like that, where, I wake up and everything's the same. For me, though, being out in nature, being with my children, and actually not thinking about anything else but being present with them in the exact felt moment of the experience is very important to me. And I think the thing that scares me is very few people, I think, are able to or will be able to experience taking like a month to 2 to 3 months off. And I think if they did, they would wake up and they would look around them and go, what the heck am I doing, man? Life could be so much better. I don't like what I'm doing. You get comfortable really fast. It's not that hard to learn to sleep in, I'll tell you that, and to take multiple naps, which I totally intend to do. So yeah, it's a 24/7 work ethic with me. Is it worth it? I'm going to say yeah, most definitely. So there's a couple things I'd like to change. One of them is my eating habits. And this is during the work periods, the 8 to 9 months out of the year that I do work. Now, things are chaotic. I'm a single dad. I have a special needs kid. I've got 2 children. I got to pay the rent. I'm doing everything myself, meal prepping, bill paying, washing clothes, dishes, keeping up my place. And it's a full-time job. And then running all these extra businesses and these shows. I don't know if you guys realize it takes a lot of time and effort and money to actually broadcast these podcasts. So what I found myself doing is just really not taking care of myself that well, especially this last year. I devoted too much of myself to business. And I'm like a hyena. When I eat my food, I swallow it whole. It's like, get it done, get it down the hatch so we can get on to the next thing. We're busy here. Let's keep things moving, And I'm treating myself like crap. I hadn't got as much cardio. My pants have become tight on me. I haven't been getting my exercise, and I think that's because of a lot of things, disorganization that I let happen to my home. So every year, I try to reflect on my life, and I try to teach and share this on the show, is when you have time off and you're able to get a bird's eye view of things, you start to see where all the stresses and problematic areas of your life are. So I like to every year make my life even better. And so that's one thing I notice is I want to sit down present with my meals and chew my food a lot better. It's better for my health. And I also invested in some sort of automation for my life. I've got some of those pressure cooker, air fryer dealio things where you can make one-pot meals or just really quick, healthy, good stuff. And a lot simpler. It's like hiring it's like a little robot that cooks food for you. All you got to do is feed it, put some food in it. So things like that. Home organization as well. I thought that I had stuff organized. I think I'm going to spend the money on like plastic trays and envelope holders, things like that for like mail. And basically, in a nutshell, and we only have 15 minutes to explain this, is make it to where you can place everything back where it goes. Very simple. Have everything labeled. I've been trying to not be anal about this stuff and not be, like a nerd. But man, when you get in the hustle, and I mean, if you guys know what hustle is, it's when you're working 10, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, when you have so many things going on, you think that you're organized and you got no time for nothing. And the systems, they all collapse. Once you don't put one thing away, you forget where it's at, it causes stress. And then you start placing things here and there, the mail, junk mail, I'll just sort through it tomorrow. I don't have the time right now. Next thing you know, you have a stack of just these papers and everything. You have no idea what's going on in it. And that's just not a good way to live. So that's why I incorporate running your life like a business so things are organized. So there's less stress, more freedom, more time for you to go out there and make the bucks that you need, and to be able to just take that bird's eye view. I love the bird's eye view thing because every year when I go camping on my road trips, I always find new things. For instance, I purchased a batwing canopy for my work on my truck. It's a canopy that wraps around 180 degrees around my truck. That thing helps out when we're camping tremendously. It helps out at work as well. That's the main reason I got it. A little shade spot. But little things of a wire brush for my barbecuer, and one of my favorite things is I brought a bar of soap, and I got an inflatable kiddie pool, and I have a DC powered air pump that stacks functions. I could blow up air my tires up if I ever got a flat, but I use that to blow up a swimming pool for my special needs daughter and for myself. And we'll go places where it's cold, like up north on the coast, up in the middle of nowhere, and I'll fill that thing up with water. It'll get all nice and warm. And then what'll happen is I'll soap her all up while she's swimming in there, give her a bath, because we camp out in the middle of the wilderness. You know, we're not, as I said, this is nothing fancy. We're not going out staying at hotels and traveling. Like, we actually travel in my truck. We live in my vehicle for a few weeks, maybe a couple months. But yeah, those were really cool things that just made life funner and made life easier. So sacrifices is the next thing on my notes here. And I got rid of a lot of personal relationships I had. And I think I spoke about that on a few episodes behind, going back in time here. And a lot of people said, you're killing yourself. Why do you do this and that? And why do you work so hard, 10, 12-hour days and things like that? But you know what? The experiences that I have and have had with my children and continue to have outweigh the hard work by far. I don't feel like I'm killing myself. I like taking long breaks. Like when I see people, they barely have maybe a week to 2 weeks off, where I'm taking off an entire summer. And when I talk to them when we're out, they're like, "Oh my God, I'd kill for something like that. That would just be so awesome. God, I wish I could do something like that." So sacrifices, I cut out personal relationships, a lot of them, of just the negativity and the way people live. I mean, I'm here to share information that's completely different. We're redesigning life as we know it. We're wanting to gain more freedom and more security, more comfort and health, and things. We want to improve the quality of life for the planet and the people. And unfortunately, the things that we're doing now, they don't really work that way. So what happens is I get perceived as somebody completely backwards, which I am. And I think it may scare people or it may confuse people, but I have to sacrifice away from those relationships in order for me to get ahead and actually start living my life and not getting too preoccupied and caught up with people's information. So guys, that's the show. My kids, as I said, it's one of the best times that I've ever had with them. And it continues to get better and better every single year, as life should. And that's the show, guys. If you like this sort of thing, check it out. There's a lot of stuff in the show notes here. Resilientlpodcast. You guys can at gmail.com. There's Resilient Living Podcast on Instagram. As I always say, guys, go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. And human up, my friends.